Ladies, let me tell you something. If a man looks at you a half second too long when he thinks you're not watching, if his whole body turns toward you like a sunflower turning toward the sun, if he touches his own neck when you walk into the room, that is not random. That is not nothing. That is his body confessing what his mouth is too scared to say. Because here's the truth. Nobody wants to tell you. A man will almost never walk up to you and say, "I want to hug you. I want to be close to you. I want you." That sentence terrifies him. It gives you the remote to his heart. And baby, men guard that remote like it's the last one on earth. But his body doesn't lie. His body doesn't lie. His body has no poker face. His body has been talking this whole time, and tonight I'm going to teach you how to hear it. By the end of this, you're going to know the 8 signs his body gives when he's craving closeness with you. Real closeness, not games, not performance. You're going to know the difference between a man who wants you and a man who just wants access to you. And sister, those are 2 very different men. So sit down, get comfortable. Let me break this down for you the way I'd break it down for my own daughter at the kitchen table. See, here's what you need to understand about men first, before we get to a single sign. Men are raised on silence. From the time a boy is 7 years old, the world starts teaching him one lesson over and over again. Don't say what you feel. Don't cry. Don't reach. Don't need. If he falls off his bike, they tell him to shake it off. If he misses his mother, they tell him to be a big boy. If he loves somebody, they tell him, don't let her know she got you. So that little boy grows into a man who feels everything and says nothing. The wanting doesn't disappear. It just moves. It moves from his mouth into his hands. It moves from his words into his eyes. It moves from his sentences into the way he stands, the way he breathes, the way he leans when you're talking. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? You've been with a man who could not form the sentence, "I miss you," if his life depended on it. But somehow he always ended up standing 2 inches closer than he needed to. He never said he wanted to hold you, but his arm found the back of your chair every single time. That's not coincidence. That's a confession with no words. Now here's the part that breaks my heart, because I've watched it happen to too many good women. You don't miss the signs because you're blind. You miss the signs because you've been trained to only trust words. Somebody taught you that if he didn't say it, it isn't real. So his body's out here writing you love letters every single day, and you're waiting on a text message. And on the other side, there are women who see the signs and talk themselves out of them. Oh, he's just friendly. Oh, he does that with everybody. Oh, I'm reading too much into it. Sister, stop. Stop shrinking your own reading of the room. Your instincts were given to you by God and your grandmothers. They are not broken. Let me tell you about a woman I know. Let's call her Maya. Maya worked with a man for 2 years. 2 years. She told me, "Steve, I think he likes me, but he's never said anything, so I must be crazy." I said, "Maya, tell me what he does." She said, "Well, every morning he walks past my desk, even though his office is on the other side of the floor. He remembers everything I say. When I talk, he puts his phone face down. And sometimes when I look up, he's already looking at me. And he looks away real fast like I caught him stealing." I said, "Maya, baby, that man has been saying, 'I want to be near you' every day for 2 years. He just said it in the only language he was brave enough to speak." 3 months later, he finally told her, "You know what he said? I was scared that if you knew how much I wanted you, you'd have the power to destroy me." That's what's happening inside his mind. Fear dressed up as coolness. So before I give you the 8 signs, I need you to promise me one thing. You're going to stop waiting for words from a man who was never taught to use them. And you're going to start reading the truth that's been standing right in front of you. Not so you can chase him. Not so you can rescue him. So you can see clearly. Clarity is power. And tonight, clarity is what you're getting. Now hear me on this. There is a difference between a body that craves you and a body that just wants something from you. I'm going to teach you both. Because a man who wants access to you will fake some of these signs, but he cannot fake all 8, and he cannot fake them consistently. Real love is not intensity. Real love is not intensity. Real love is consistency. Remember that sentence, because we're coming back to it. Let's get into the first sign. Sign number 1. His eyes find you first and they stay a beat too long. A man who is craving closeness with you looks at you differently than he looks at everybody else in the room. Not the quick scan, not the polite glance. I'm talking about the look that lands and lingers. A half second, a full second longer than social rules allow. And when your eyes catch his, one of 2 things happens. Either he holds it slow and steady, like he's saying something he can't say out loud, or he drops his eyes fast, like a boy caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Both are confessions. The hold says, I want you, and I'm daring you to know it. The drop says, I want you, and I'm terrified you know it. See, here's what men are wired to do. The eyes are the one place his self-control breaks first. He can manage his words. He can manage his face. He can even manage his posture. But when a man wants to be close to a woman, his eyes go looking for her before his brain gives permission. It's involuntary. It's ancient. Scientists will tell you that when a person looks at someone they desired, their pupils dilate and their gaze returns to that person over and over like a compass needle that keeps swinging back to north. You are his north. You've lived this. You're at a gathering, you're laughing with your friends, and you feel it. That warmth on the side of your face. You look up, and there he is, across the room already looking. Not at your friend, not at the television, at you. And in that split second before he looks away, you saw something soft and hungry and unguarded. That was the truth, baby. Everything after that, the cool nod, the casual walk away, that was the cover-up. Now let me break down what's really happening inside his mind. When a man looks at you a beat too long, he is doing something that, for him, is an act of enormous risk. He is letting you see his wanting. And here's the forbidden truth they don't teach you. Men are far more afraid of being caught wanting you than they are of losing you. Wanting makes him vulnerable. Wanting hands you the remote. So when his eyes linger, understand that his whole nervous system is screaming at him to look away, and he is overriding it just to drink you in for one more second. That's not casual. That is never casual. And I need to tell you about the difference here. Because not every stare is love. A man who wants access to you stares at your body and checks out of your face. A man who wants you stares at your eyes, your mouth when you talk, your hands when you laugh. There's a look that consumes and there's a look that treasures. You can feel the difference in your spirit. One makes you feel hunted. One makes you feel seen. Listen to me carefully. You deserve to be seen, not scanned. I knew another woman, let's call her Rachel. Rachel met a man at her church of all places. She said, Steve, every Sunday I catch him looking at me during the announcements. Not during the sermon. During the announcements, when everybody's shuffling papers and nobody's paying attention to anything. He uses the boring parts to look at me. I started laughing because, baby, that's it right there. A man who craves you uses the quiet moments, the unspectacular moments, to watch you exist. He doesn't just look when you're performing, hair done, dressed up, telling your best story. He looks when you're doing nothing at all, because it's not the show he wants, it's you. So here's what you do with this sign. Nothing. That's right, nothing. You don't confront him, you don't call him out, you just receive the information and let it settle. The lingering look is data. File it. because one sign alone might be a fluke. But a sign that repeats, a sign that shows up with the other seven, that's a pattern. And a pattern is the truth. And sister, let me tell you the flip side, because I'm not going to let you walk out of here half-taught. If a man never looks at you, if his eyes slide past you like your furniture, if he's looking at his phone while you're pouring your heart out, his body is telling you something too. Indifference has a body language, and it is loud. A man who wants you cannot keep his eyes off you. A man who doesn't want you cannot keep his eyes on you. It really is that simple, and I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying that to wake you up. Sign number 2. His body points at you like a compass, no matter where he is in the room. Now this one is going to sound too simple, but stay with me, because the body tells the truth from the feet up. When a man is craving closeness with you, his entire body orients toward you. His shoulders square up to you. His chest faces you. And here's the part nobody notices. His feet point at you. Even when he's talking to somebody else, even when he's across the room, his body is a needle and you are magnetic north, and he doesn't even know he's doing it. See, people can fake a smile. People can fake eye contact for a few seconds, but nobody thinks about their feet. The feet are the most honest part of the body because they're the farthest from the part of the brain that performs. Where the feet point is where the heart wants to go. You've been sitting there in a group, haven't you? 4 or 5 people standing in a circle, everybody talking, and you notice that his whole frame is angled toward you, not toward the person talking, not toward the door. Toward you. When you shift, he shifts. When you lean on the counter, somehow a minute later he's leaning on the same counter. That's not an accident. That's his body quietly closing the distance. His words are too afraid to close. Let me tell you what's happening inside his mind. He doesn't know his feet are pointing at you. I promise you he doesn't. If you told him, he'd be embarrassed for a week. His conscious mind is busy managing the conversation, being funny, being cool, making sure nobody suspects anything. Meanwhile, his body is down there voting with every limb. I want to be near her. I want to face her. I want the shortest possible distance between me and her. Baby, the body votes, and it votes honestly. Now contrast that with the man who talks to you with his body half turned toward the exit. Torso twisted away, feet aimed at the door, eyes bouncing around the room looking for somebody better. He can say all the sweet words he wants. You look beautiful tonight. I've been thinking about you. His words are saying, stay. His body is saying, leave. And the body always wins, because the body can't lie. A man who wants you closes distance. A man who doesn't want you maintains distance. A man who wants access to you closes distance only when he wants something. Watch the difference. Watch it for 2 weeks without saying a word, and you will know everything you need to know. Here's a scenario lived. You're at work or at a family cookout, and you get up to move to another part of the room. And 10 minutes later, not immediately, because immediately would be too obvious, he ends up in that part of the room too. He drifts like a boat with no anchor. He drifts toward wherever you are. And if you tested it, if you moved 3 times in one evening, he'd drift 3 times. I watched men do this at parties for 40 years. They think they're being smooth. Baby, it's the least smooth thing in the world, and it's the sweetest, because it's real. I want you to think about Tasha. Tasha's a real one, a woman from my orbit some years back. She had a neighbor, a quiet man, divorced, kept to himself. She said, Steve, I can't figure him out. He barely says 10 words to me. I said, tell me what his body does. She went quiet for a second. Then she said, well, every time I'm in my front yard, he finds a reason to be in his. He's always fixing something in his garage with the door open, facing my house. When I water my flowers, suddenly his lawn needs mowing. I said, Tasha, that man's whole body has been facing you for months. His garage door is a confession. 6 months later, he asked her to dinner and he told her, "I used to plan my whole Saturday around hoping you'd come outside." The feet, baby. The feet always tell it. So here's your directive for sign 2. Stop listening to his words first. Start watching where his body points when he thinks no one is auditing him. In the group, in the meeting, at the table. If his body keeps voting for you, shoulders, chest, feet all aimed at you like you're the only exit in a burning building, that man's body has already told you what his mouth is working up the courage to say. Sign number 3, he touches himself when you appear. Now don't you go making that dirty "this is not that" conversation. Listen to me. When a man who has been holding himself together suddenly sees you walk in, his hands start moving to his own body. He touches his neck. He adjusts his collar. He runs his hand over his jaw, through his hair, down his chest. He straightens his shirt, checks his watch, digits with his cuff. Psychologists call these self-soothing and preening behaviors. I call it what it is. His body is reacting to your presence before his cool can catch up. Here's why. When a man craves closeness and can't have it yet, that energy has to go somewhere. Wanting is energy. It's a current. And if he can't reach for you, his hands reach for himself. The neck touch is calming his own nerves. The collar adjustment is his body saying, "I want to look right for her." The hand through the hair is grooming, the same thing a bird does when another bird it wants comes near. It's the oldest signal on earth, and every man does it, and almost no man knows he's doing it. You've seen this. You walk into the room, and within 3 seconds, his hand goes to his face or his head. Every time. It's like clockwork. It's 7:15 on a Tuesday evening. You come around the corner into the kitchen or the break room, and there it is. The collar, the jaw, the hair. You thought it was random. Baby, nothing about that is random. That is his nervous system announcing you. And here's the deeper layer nobody tells you. A man only preens for someone whose opinion of him matters. He does not fix his hair for people he doesn't care about. He does not touch his collar for the woman at the bus stop he has no interest in. His body reserves that response for the person who has moved into the part of his heart where his pride lives. You walking into a room and his hand starting to move means you live in him somewhere. That's the translation. Write it down in your spirit. Now, where most women mess up with this sign is they expect it to look like the movies. They expect him to go weak, to stammer, to drop something. Sometimes that happens. And honey, when a grown man drops his keys because you walked in, that's a whole sermon by itself. But usually it's quiet. It's subtle. A hand to the back of the neck. A tug at the sleeve. It's a whisper of a sign, not a shout. And that's exactly why it's trustworthy. Because it's too small to be performed. Men perform the big stuff. They buy flowers where everyone can see. They make speeches. But nobody performs a neck touch. It's involuntary. Involuntary is where the truth lives. Let me contrast it so you can't be fooled. A man who wants access to you will do the opposite. He'll get still and slick when you walk in. Calculated. He's had practice. He performs confidence like it's a job. The man who genuinely craves you has a little static in him when you appear. A little fidget. A little adjustment. Because real desire makes the body honest, and honest bodies move. So here's what you do. For 1 week, become a quiet scientist. Don't test him. Don't play games. Just observe. Notice what his hands do in the first 5 seconds after you appear. If those hands go to work on himself every single time, his body has been telling you for months what his mouth hasn't found the courage for. Now hear me on this, because I want to pause and talk to the woman who's listening right now with a specific face in her mind. You're nodding. You're saying, "Oh my God, he does that. He does all of that." And then your very next thought is, "But if he wants me so bad, why doesn't he just say it?" Sister, I'm so glad you asked, because that's where we're going next, and the answer is going to free you. Let me break down what's really happening inside his mind when he won't say it. It's not one thing. It's three things stacked on top of each other: fear, conditioning, and math. Fear first. To say I want to hold you is to hand you a loaded confession. If you reject it, he doesn't just lose a moment. In his mind, he loses you entirely, plus his dignity, plus the story he tells himself about being the kind of man who doesn't get rejected. Men would rather want you in silence for a year than risk one sentence that could end everything. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's real. Conditioning second. Everything in his raising told him that needing a woman out loud is weakness. His daddy didn't say it. His uncles didn't say it. The movies he grew up on rewarded the man who played it cool. So he's standing there with a chest full of war and a lifetime of training that says lock it down. And math. Third, this is the one nobody talks about. He's doing calculations. He's reading your body the same way you're reading his, and he's waiting for a sign from you that the risk is safe. He's waiting for evidence that if he reaches, you'll reach back. Two people standing across from each other, both wanting, both waiting, both silent. Baby, that's not a love story. That's a traffic jam. So when his body tells you what his mouth won't, understand you're not looking at a liar. We're looking at a man at war with his own raising. Now that doesn't mean you wait forever, and we're going to talk about that. But it means you stop writing the story. That silence means absence. Sometimes silence is not empty. Sometimes silence is full. But, and this is a big but, so stay with me. Sometimes silence is empty. And a woman who can't tell the difference between a scared man and an indifferent man will waste years of her beautiful life. So let me give you the measuring stick right now, before we go any further. A scared man's body leans toward you while his mouth stays quiet. An indifferent man's body is quiet too. Quiet, still, and pointed somewhere else. The scared man is warm and close and wordless. The indifferent man is cool and distant and wordless. Same silence, completely different bodies. You're not confused, sister. You were just only listening with your ears. Tonight you're learning to listen with your eyes. Sign number 4. He finds reasons to touch you, and every touch is a question. Now we're getting into the heart of it, because this is where I want to hug you stops being a feeling and starts being a behavior. A man who is craving closeness with you will find small, deniable, innocent-looking ways to make contact. His hand on your back as he passes behind you. The brush of his arm against yours that lasts a second longer than physics requires. The lint he picks off your sweater. Baby, there was no lint. There has never been any lint. The lint is the excuse his hands invented because they wanted to be where you are. He guides you through a doorway with a hand at the small of your back. He taps your forearm when he laughs at your joke. He stands close enough in the elevator that your shoulders touch, and he does not move away. Each one of these is a sentence in the only language he's brave enough to speak. And do you know what the sentence says? It says, I want to be closer than this, and I'm testing whether the world ends if I touch you. See, here's what men are wired to do. Touch is the risk ladder, and he climbs it one rung at a time. The back touch is rung 1. The arm brush is rung 2. Fixing your collar, brushing hair from your face, that's high on the ladder. And the man does not climb high on the ladder unless every lower rung told him it was safe. He's not just touching you. He's asking questions with his hands and reading your answers with his whole nervous system. Did she lean in? Did she go still? Did she smile? Did she pull back a quarter inch? He feels all of it, and his next move depends on your last response. You've lived this scene. Let me paint it for you. It's 9:30 at night, you're standing in the kitchen at somebody's birthday party, both of you reaching for the same bowl of chips. Your hands touch. And instead of the quick, embarrassed pullback that happens with everybody else, there is a pause, a half-second pause where neither hand retreats. Time gets thick, and then you both laugh it off and say something stupid about the chips. Sister, that pause was the whole truth. That pause was him saying, I want to hold you, with the only part of him that isn't afraid. Now, here is where I need you to listen to me very, very carefully, because this sign has a counterfeit, and the counterfeit is dangerous. A man who wants access to your body will also touch you, but his touch has a different spirit. The man who craves you touches you in public, in daylight, in the presence of other people, because his touch is about closeness. The man who wants access touches you only in private, only late at night, only when it leads somewhere. One touch is a question. The other is a transaction. You know the difference. You've always known the difference. You feel it in your skin before your mind can form the words. And here's the second test of the touch. Does it stay respectful when you don't respond the way he hoped? A man who genuinely craves you can handle a not yet without getting cold, without getting punishing, without withdrawing all warmth like you owe him something. A man who only wanted access will show you his whole agenda the moment you slow him down. Baby, a man who wants you does not punish your boundaries. He respects them and he stays. The one who leaves when you say slow down was never there for you. He was there for him. Let him go and don't you dare grieve him for more than a weekend. I knew a woman. Let's call her Denise. Denise was dating a man and she told me, Steve, he's very affectionate, but only at his apartment, only after 11. In public, he walks 2 steps ahead of me. At his place, he can't keep his hands off me. I said, Denise, baby, that's not a man craving closeness. That's a man scheduling access. His body isn't confessing love. His body is placing an order. And then I told her about the other man she'd mentioned almost in passing, a coworker who walked her to her car every evening, who once fixed the collar of her coat when the wind messed it up, who touched her shoulder when he said goodbye and let his hand rest there like it was something holy. I said, that man wants to hold you. The first one just wants to have you. Learn the difference, and it will save you 10 years. 6 months later, the apartment man was gone. He vanished the first time Denise said she wanted to slow down, just like I told her he would. And the coworker asked her to marry him 2 years after that. And at the wedding, he said in his vows, I loved her for a year before I ever said a word. I used to pray she'd need her coat fixed. The room laughed. I didn't. Because I knew he was telling the God's honest truth. So here's your directive for sign 4. Audit the touch with 3 questions. Does it happen in the light? Does it happen when there's nothing to gain? And does it survive a not yet? If the answer is yes, yes, and yes, that touch is a confession and the man behind it is craving something real. If any answer is no, stop explaining him to yourself. Stop translating access into affection. You are not a hotel. You are not a convenience store. You are a woman, and closeness with you is a privilege to be honored, not a door to be unlocked. Sign number 5, his face does things he can't control when you're near. Now let's talk about the face, because the face is a traitor. A man can rehearse his words. He can rehearse his posture, his walk, his tone of voice. But the face has a mind of its own. And when a man is craving closeness with you, his face betrays him in at least 3 specific ways. First, the softening. When he looks at you, something in his whole face relaxes. The jaw unclenches. The eyes get warmer and rounder. The eyebrows lift slightly. He looks younger when he looks at you. You've seen this. He's in the middle of some hard conversation, all business, all armor. And then you walk up, and it's like watching ice melt in real time. Baby, That softening is his guard coming down, and a man's guard only comes down in the presence of someone his body has decided is safe and wanted. That is not a small thing. In a world that tells men to stay hard, you are the place he goes soft. Do you understand what a privilege that is? Do you understand what that means? Second, the mirroring. When a man craves closeness with you, his face starts copying yours without his permission. You smile, and his face is already smiling before he's decided to. You laugh, and his laugh follows a beat behind like an echo that loves you. You tilt your head, and 2 seconds later his head tilts. This is called mirroring, and it's one of the most reliable signs of deep attraction that exists, because it is almost impossible to fake and almost impossible to suppress. His body is literally synchronizing with yours, rehearsing for closeness, practicing being one unit with you. Third, the involuntary smile. I'm not talking about his polite smile, his camera smile, his meeting smile. I'm talking about the smile that escapes, the one that breaks across his face when you say something, and he tries to pull it back, tries to play it cool, and fails. The smile he smiles at his phone when your name is on the screen and he thinks nobody's watching. Somebody has watched him do that, by the way. His friends have seen it. His mama has seen it. If you ever want to know how a man really feels about you, don't ask him. Ask the people who've watched his face when your name comes up. They know. Everybody knows. His face has been telling the whole neighborhood. Let me tell you what's happening inside his mind during all of this. Nothing. That's the point. Nothing is happening in his conscious mind. And that's exactly why you can trust it. The rehearsed behaviors come from the part of his brain that manages image. The softening, the mirroring, the escaped smile. Those come from underneath all that, from the part of him that doesn't perform. When you see his face do something he didn't authorize, you are seeing the man, not the representative. The man. Every man sends a representative out for the first season of any relationship. Charming, polished, controlled. But the face, in unguarded moments, lets the real man peek out. And if the real man looks at you like your sunrise, baby, believe him. Now, here's where most women mess up with this side. They see the softening. They see the smile. They feel the mirroring. And then a friend talks them out of it. Girl, he's like that with everybody. Stop. Watch him with everybody. Really watch. Is his face doing that with the waitress? With his coworker? With the other women in the room? Attraction is specific. If his whole face changes key, when you enter, that is not a personality trait. That is a verdict. And one more layer, because this is important, and nobody teaches it. Watch his face when you talk about other things. Your work, your dreams, something that made you sad last year. A man craving closeness doesn't just light up when you're cute and funny. He leans in when you're serious. His face attends to you. His brow furrows when you describe something that hurt you, like your pain is arriving in his own chest. That's called empathy resonance, and a man cannot manufacture it. If your sadness shows up on his face, sister, he is not just attracted to you. He is bonded to you. There's a difference, and the difference is everything. Rachel, the church woman I told you about, once said something to me I've never forgotten. She said, "Steve, I knew before he ever touched me." Because one Sunday I told the group about my mother being sick, and when I looked at him, his eyes were wet. Not performing, not making a show, just wet, and then he looked down at his hands like he was embarrassed by his own heart. She said, "That's when I knew this man doesn't just want to be near me. He feels me." Two people can sleep in the same bed for 20 years and never have that. She had it before the first date because she knew how to read a face. So your directive for side 5 is simple. Stop watching his performances, stop watching his leaks, the softening, the mirroring, the smile that escapes, the furrowed brow at your bad news. The face cannot hold a lie for long, and it cannot hold back love either. What lives in his heart will eventually leak through his face. Your only job is to be watching when it does. Sign number 6. He closes the distance and then stays in it. Distance is a language, and I need you to become fluent. Every man you will ever meet has a distance he keeps from the world. His bubble, his space, the invisible fence he maintains without thinking about it. Now watch what happens to that fence around you. A man who is craving closeness with you does not just enter your space once. He enters it and he stays in it. And he keeps finding ways to shrink it. He sits closer than the seating arrangement requires. The couch has 3 cushions, and somehow you're sharing one. He stares near you in a room full of open floor. When you're talking, he leans in. Not because he can't hear you, baby. He can hear you fine. He leans in because his body is pulling him toward you like a tide, and leaning is the only part of the pull he allows himself. And here's the detail that gives the whole game away. He doesn't retreat when the moment passes. When the conversation pauses, when the laughter dies down, an ordinary man drifts back to his own territory. But this man stays. The closeness lingers. He has built a little campsite on the border of your personal space, and he has no plans to break it down. You've lived this. We're at a restaurant with a group, and the table is crowded, and his knee is against your knee under the table, and it stays there. Not a bump and an apology. A stay. And your heart is hammering, and you're pretending to read the menu, and the menu might as well be written in Greek, because your whole body is aware of that knee. Sister, he is aware of it too. He is more aware of it than you are. He is sitting there having an entire silent conversation with himself. Should I move it? No. Does she seem bothered? She doesn't seem bothered. Lord, don't let her move. That is the truth of what's happening on his side of that knee. And I will tell it to anybody. Let me break down the psychology, because this one runs deep. Physical proximity is the most honest measure of desire that exists in human behavior. We let people we are drawn to into our intimate space, and we keep everyone else out, and we do it automatically, without decision. So when a man repeatedly, consistently, across weeks and months, keeps ending up inside your space and staying there, his body is not making a suggestion, it's making a statement. Here is where I want to live. Now the counterfeit check, because you know I'm not letting you leave any sign without one. A man who wants access to you also closes distance. But watch when. The access man's closeness has a timer and an agenda. He's close at midnight, distant at brunch. Close when you're alone, distant when commitment is mentioned. The man who craves you is close in the boring moments, in the grocery store line, in the waiting room, on the couch, while you're both on your phones doing nothing. Proximity with no payoff is the purest proximity there is. If he wants to be near you when there's nothing to gain from nearness, is not strategy, is gravity. I want you to hear this next part as a warning, because I've seen good women misread this and get hurt. There is a man who closes distance fast, too fast, all the signs in the first week. The lingering looks, the touches, the knee against the knee, the whole symphony by the second date. And it feels like a movie. And baby, that's the problem. It's a movie. He's performed it before. Real craving in a good man is usually a little slower, a little clumsier, because it's not a routine. It's happening to him. The smooth operator does the signs at you. The genuine man does them around you, awkwardly, like a man whose body is doing things his pride didn't approve. Don't fall for speed. Fall for consistency. Real love is not intensity. Real love is consistency. I told you we'd come back to that sentence. So here's what you do with sign 6. Create one honest moment and watch what he does with it. Not a trap, a moment. Sit near him. Let the space between you get small and quiet, and observe. Does he stay? Does he settle into the closeness like a man coming home? Or does he get restless? Check his phone, drift? A man who craves you treats closeness with you like oxygen. He doesn't fidget in it. He rests in it. That resting is the sign. Craving, in its truest form, isn't frantic. It's a man being more at peace inside your space than anywhere else in the building. Sign number 7, he protects the space around you like it's his job. This one is deep, and most women feel it long before they can name it. When a man is craving closeness with you, real closeness, the kind that wants to hold you and keep you, his body starts doing something ancient. It starts guarding, not controlling, not owning, guarding. There's a canyon of difference between those two, and I'm going to teach it to you right now. He walks on the street side of the sidewalk without ever announcing it. He puts his body between you and the crowd in a packed room. When a stranger approaches you, his posture changes. Spine straighter, chest broader, eyes tracking. Not because he's jealous in performing, but because some old wiring in him has assigned your safety to his body. When you cross the parking lot at night, he's not walking beside you, he's positioned. A half step where he can see everything. And here's the giveaway. He does it all silently. He never says, "Look how protective I am." The man who announces his protection is performing. The man whose body quietly rearranges itself around your safety is confessing. See, here's what men are wired to do. And this goes back further than any of us. A man's deepest declaration of attachment isn't "I want you," it's "nothing gets to her except through me." When his body starts guarding the space around you, his heart has already moved you inside the perimeter of what he considers his to care for. That is a monumental thing in male psychology. Men do not guard what they do not value. A man will let a stranger bump into a woman he doesn't care about and not blink, but let a stranger bump into the woman he craves and watch his whole body become a wall. You have seen this. You have seen a mild, easygoing man turn into a locked door because somebody got too familiar with you. That wasn't a mood. That was a confession. Now, the difference between guarding and controlling, because confusing these two has destroyed more women than any other mistake on this list. Guarding says, "Your safety matters to me." Controlling says, "Your movements belong to me." Guarding positions his body near yours. Controlling positions his rules around your life. A guarding man walks on the street side and then lets you go wherever you want. A controlling man tells you where you're allowed to walk. One of them wants to hold you. The other wants to hold you down. Never confuse the two, and never let anybody call control by love's name. Love that cages you is not love. It's a jail with flowers on the windowsill. Let me tell you about Maya again, the one whose coworker walked past her desk every morning. She told me a story later that sealed it for her. They were at a work conference, hundreds of people, and a man at the bar got pushy with her. Not dangerous, just the kind of man who doesn't hear no the first time. She says, "Steve, I didn't even have to handle it." Marcus was just there. He didn't make a scene. He just stepped in beside me, put his hand on my back, said something calm to the man, and stood there until the man found somewhere else to be. And afterward, he didn't even mention it. He asked me if I wanted another drink like nothing happened. I said, "Maya, do you hear yourself? That man stood between you and trouble like it was the most natural thing in the world, and then didn't even take credit for it. That's not a coworker, baby. That's a guardian who hasn't told you he's applied for the position. That's the test right there. Real protection is quiet and takes no bow. It's the hand on your back in the crowd. It's him noticing the exits. It's his body going still and alert when something feels off, while his face stays calm for your sake. If you got a man whose body does security detail for you without a salary, without a speech, without a scoreboard, sister, his body has been saying, I want to hold you and keep you this entire time. And to the woman thinking, well, nobody's ever done that for me. Hear me. That is not a vertigo you're worth. That is data about the men you've had. The right instinct in a good man is out there, and it is looking for a woman exactly like you to guard. Don't you dare lower your reading of your own value because your history hired the wrong security. Sign number 8. He stays. This is the last sign, and it is the biggest. And if you forget the other 7, do not forget this one. When everything else has been said, the looks, the leaning, the touches, the guarding, there is one final way a man's body says, I want to hold you, that no counterfeit has ever successfully faked. He stays in your presence longer than he has to, every time, without a reason. The party's over, everybody's leaving, and he's finding one more thing to say. The conversation has run out 3 times, and he keeps resurrecting it. He walked you to your car 40 minutes ago, and you're both still standing there, and neither of you can explain why. He lingers in doorways. He stretches goodbyes into 15-minute events. His body simply refuses to leave the space where you are. Baby, listen to me carefully. Time is the one currency a man cannot print more of. Where his time goes, his heart already lives. A man can fake a compliment. He can fake a smile, a touch, even a tear if he's practiced enough. But he cannot fake the staying. Not consistently, not for months, not in the boring moments when there is nothing to gain. The staying is the sum of all the other signs. It is his whole body, feet and chest and eyes and hands voting at once, I am not done being near you. I don't want to go. You are the place I keep choosing. And here's what's happening inside his mind during the staying. He knows the evening is over. He knows he has no more excuses. There is a voice in his head saying, man, go home. You said goodnight twice already. And there is a deeper voice, older, truer, that says, not yet, just a little longer. She laughs again in a minute if you stay. That second voice is his real heart, and it wins every time, and he doesn't understand it any better than you do. Men are not complicated in their wanting, ladies. They are only complicated in their explaining. You've lived this scene. Let me timestamp it for you. It's 11:47 p.m. You're standing on a porch, or by a car, or at the end of a driveway. The good night has been said. Hug has been had. The hug that lasted 4 seconds longer than a friendship hug, and both of you felt it. And still he's standing there, hands in his pockets, talking about nothing. The weather, a movie, something his cousin did. And you're thinking, why is he still here? Sister, he is still there because leaving you is the only thing his body refuses to do. The man is fighting a war with his own feet and losing gloriously. Now let me give you the contrast that will protect you. The man who wants access to you stays too, but only until he gets what he came for. His staying has a finish line. Watch a man's after and you will know his before. Does he stay after the date is officially over? Does he stay on the phone after the conversation is done? Does he stay close in the seasons when you are sick, when you are no makeup, when you are grieving, when there is nothing fun about you at all? A man who craves you stays through the unglamorous. A man who wants access disappears during it and returns when you're shiny again. The staying must survive the boring, the hard, and the unprofitable, or it was never staying. It was shopping. Tasha, my neighbor's story, Tasha, told me something after she'd been married to that garage doorman for 3 years. She said, Steve, you want to know when I knew? Before we ever dated, my car broke down in our street. He spent 4 hours fixing it, missed his own plans. And when he was done, greasy and exhausted, he didn't rush off. He sat on my porch steps and we talked until it got dark. I kept thinking, this man has somewhere to be. Later, I found out where he was supposed to be, his own birthday dinner. He skipped his birthday dinner to sit on my steps. She looked at me and said, nobody had ever stayed like that. Every man before him was always halfway out the door. I said, Tasha, baby, that's the whole sermon. The man who stays is the man who stays. It doesn't get deeper than that. So your directive for sign 8, stop measuring his words and start measuring his exits. How does this man leave you? Fast, relieved, on to the next thing. Or slowly, reluctantly, with one more story and one more laugh and one more reason to stand in the doorway? The exit is the confession. It always has been. Now, let's bring this all home because I've given you 8 signs and I know some of you are sitting there with your heart pounding and one face in your mind. And you're asking the question I hear from every woman at this exact moment. Okay, Steve. His body is saying it. All 8. Now what do? Here's the power move that changes everything, and it is going to surprise you because it is the opposite of what the world taught you. You do nothing except receive it and respond honestly. Let me explain. Because do nothing is the most misunderstood instruction in all of relationships. I am not telling you to play dead. I am not telling you to play games, to run hot and cold, to become a strategist in your own love life. Games are for people who don't believe they're worth wanting. I am telling you this, when his body confesses, your only job is to give his courage something safe to land on. That's it. That's the whole move. Here's what I mean practically. When his eyes linger, let them. Don't snap your gaze away like you caught him committing a crime. Hold it for one beat and give him a small, real smile. When his body points at yours across the room, point a little of yours back. When he touches your arm and the touch is a question, answer it. Lean in a 1/4 inch. Don't recoil, don't perform shock, don't giggle it into nothing. When he preens and fidgets and his cool deserts him, be warm, be easy, let the man survive his own nervousness. When he stays in the doorway at 11:47 p.m., stay in the doorway too. Do you see what you're doing? You are building a bridge, one honest plank at a time, across the gap between his fear and his confession. Remember what I told you about the math in his mind. He is waiting for evidence that reaching for you is safe. Every small, warm, honest response you give is evidence. You are not chasing him. You are not pursuing him. You are answering him. And there is a universe of difference between chasing and answering. Chasing says, I'll come get you. Answering says, I hear you and the door isn't locked. Baby, a good man does not need you to run toward him. He needs one clear signal that if he walks toward you, he won't find a wall. Now, here's where most women mess up, so listen closely. 2 mistakes. Mistake 1, she sees the signs, gets excited, and takes over the whole relationship. She starts doing the confessing, the pursuing, the planning, the initiating. She grabs the pen out of his hand and writes both their parts. And the man, relieved of the risk, goes passive. And 2 years later, she's exhausted and he's comfortable. And she can't figure out how she ended up in a relationship where she does all the wanting. Sister, do not carry a man's courage for him. If his body wants you, his body must eventually learn to speak. You build the bridge. He walks across it. That order matters. Mistake 2. She punishes the signs because the words haven't come yet. She gets cold. She gets sarcastic. She tests him with silence, with jealousy, games with, well, if he wanted to, he would. And what happens? The evidence in his mind flips. The risk calculation says, not safe. And the man retreats. And she reads the retreat as proof he never cared. And the thing that was growing dies of a misunderstanding. Now hear me. I am not asking you to wait forever. There is a clock on this. And we're about to talk about it. But in the early season, when the signs are fresh and his courage is a seedling, do not pour ice water on it and then complain that nothing grew. So what is the clock? Here's my rule, and I've given it to women for years. The signs by a season, not a lifetime. If a man's body has been confessing for a reasonable season, weeks, a few months, and you have answered honestly and warmly, and he still cannot step forward, then you have new data. Either his fear is bigger than his wanting, or his life has no room for you. And sister, neither of those is your assignment to fix. You are not a courage transplant. You are not a rehab center for emotionally frozen men. You answered. You are warm. You are clear. If he cannot walk across a bridge you built with your own openness, that is information, and you must let it inform your feet. You don't slam the door in anger. You simply stop standing in the doorway. And I need to speak to one more woman before we land this plane. The woman who just realized she's been reading the wrong man this whole time. The woman who went through these 8 signs and discovered that the man in her life shows almost none of them. He's got words for days, flowers, late night intensity. But the lingering look, the staying, the guarding, the leaning in when she's sad, missing, all missing. And her stomach just dropped because she knows what I'm about to say is true. Baby, listen to me, and I say this with my whole heart. Words are the cheapest currency in love. Any man can learn lies, but a body cannot be taught to treasure you. It either does or doesn't. Every hour of every day in 1,000 unsupervised moments, you did not fail some test. You are not too much for him. You are not too deep. You are not too emotional. You were simply loving a man whose body never voted for you, and you were trying to make up the difference with your own effort. And I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm saying that to wake you up. Because the moment you stop translating access into affection, you become available for the man whose whole body has been looking for a woman like you his entire life. You are not asking for too much when you want to be wanted in the daylight. You are not asking for too much when you want a man whose body turns towards you in a crowded room. You are not asking for too much when you want staying and guarding and leaning and the hug that means something. That is not a fantasy list. That is the baseline of real love, and millions of ordinary men deliver it every day to the women they've chosen. So here's what you're going to carry out of this. You're going to stop listening only with your ears. You're going to watch the eyes, the feet, the hands, the face, the distance, the guarding, the staying. You're going to trust what repeats and dismiss what performs. You're going to answer honest signs with honest warmth, and you're going to let the absence of signs be an answer too. And above all, you're going to remember that you are not a detective begging for clues. You are a woman reading a language. And once you know the language, no man can ever talk you out of what his body already told you. The right man is out there right now, and when he finds you, his body will start confessing before his mouth ever catches up. His eyes will find you first. His feet will vote for you. His hands will reach and ask. His face will leak his heart. He'll close the distance and rest in it. He'll guard the space around you like it's holy ground. And when the evening ends, he will be the man standing in the doorway at 11:47 p.m. talking about nothing, because leaving you is the one thing his body refuses to do. And when that happens, sister, you won't have to wonder. You'll know. You'll carry yourself like a woman who knows. If this hit your spirit today, drop a heart in the comments and let another woman hear this too. Because somewhere there's a sister sitting by her phone waiting on words, and nobody ever taught her to watch the feet. Say, here, this is for you, and I'll see you next time.